G'day guys, it's so good to have you on the Elevate online experience, and a special shout out to my mum Denise because it's Mother's Day and we want to give a special happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there. Tune in for a great experience. At Elevate Church, we love having you guys joining us every single week. So how about hit the subscribe button so you get notifications that we've got something new for you, and maybe like us and share us with your friends that you reckon may be interested. Gateway Church is our awesome worship partner for this week. Buckle up and enjoy.
I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade were never enough. Then you came along and put me back together. And every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. No, there's nothing better bring you praise. Amongst family and friends, we bring you praise and we lift up the mighty name that is Jesus. Come on, church. Sing, you are here. You are here, moving in our midst. We worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship. Let's sing that again. And you are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. 'Cause you are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is. Sing, you are here. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, oh, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship. You're turning lives around. You are here, oh, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, oh, man in every heart. I worship you. I worship you. 'Cause you are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
here it is, guys. Week 3 of the Joy Factor is taken by our very own Mark Pomeroy. If you missed last week, you can check it out on this channel, or you can check it out on all of our podcasting channels.
Well, hey there, Elevate family. Great to have you with us for week 3 of our current series, The Joy Factor, where we're taking a deep dive into some of Jesus' teachings that actually point to how you and I can experience more joy in our lives. In fact, we're looking at Jesus' first public teaching. Happens to be his longest and probably most well-known, and has been labeled the Sermon on the Mount. We started with where Jesus started that teaching, the Beatitudes, 9 perspectives and principles that if we can understand them and get our heads and our hearts around them, we can experience more joy in our lives. So if you missed it, that was the first 2 weeks of the series. If you missed either of those, I encourage you just open your favorite podcast app and type in Elevate Church Perth, and we'll be there. So you can find those messages and catch up. I want to continue today from Matthew chapter 5, and this is Matthew who recorded this Sermon on the Mount. He was there. He was one of Jesus' hand-picked 12, and thankfully he wrote down this teaching. I want to shift gears a little to the next thing that Jesus taught. So he just finished teaching the Beatitudes, and then he drops another couple of huge and uber important truth bombs. And don't forget, this is the very first stuff that Jesus taught. You know, I think that is significant. I think it points to the importance of this, that if you're going to kind of announce yourself, if you're going to say, well, of all the things, you know, we talk about famous last words, but there's also this idea of famous first words, the introduction, the stuff that you kind of points into the direction of a lot of what's important. So, Jesus, having taught the Beatitudes, continued. Let me tell you why you are here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage. Now, you probably know this. You might even be this. Someone who's intent on finding their purpose in life. You know, why am I here? And there's effectively a whole industry created around this idea of finding your purpose. You know, with books and and seminars and conferences, and the list goes on and on and on. So I'm not surprised that Jesus recognized the importance of us understanding our purpose. And he absolutely zeroed in on this. This statement, let me tell you why you are here. And you imagine you're there, the very first audience, and you're like, okay, great, come on. Let me know, let me understand why I'm here. What's my purpose in life? And you know, this is Jesus saying, before I teach anything else, before I do anything else, before we go anywhere else, let's lock in on this. Let's take the mystique out of this. Let me tell you why you are here. Our nephew, 7-year-old nephew, you know, he comes to visit us, and it's great. We love it. We love when he's here. But let me tell you something about 7-year-old boys. 7-year-old boys can be messy. I mean, our nephew, his hands are on the walls, his feet are on the walls. I don't know why, but they are. Face and hands on the door, glass doors and windows. He asks, Uncle Mark, can I watch a YouTube? And I'm like, sure. So he gets on our smart TV, opens up YouTube. All he wants to watch is Minecraft. You know, people playing Minecraft, and he just watches one after another after another. Now, at Christmas time, he got his very first doggo, so little Chase, little Moodle, cute as. And so when our nephew comes to visit, he brings his little doggo, and Chase comes in. And let me tell you something about Chase. Chase knows how to do a poo and a pee outside, but he prefers not to. He really likes doing his number ones and his number twos inside. So here's the deal. When the visit's over and our nephew and little doggo Chase trundle off, Uncle Mark spends the next 20 minutes walking around our house with a bottle of spray and a cloth. And I'm wiping off handprints and footprints and smudges. I'm scooping up poop. I'm mopping over doggo wheeze. And I wouldn't have it any other way. See, the goal in life isn't to keep everything pristine. That's called a museum. Nobody lives there. It's just a testament to the past. No, life happens when we're investing into people, when we're making space for people, when we're serving other people. And in doing so, we find a sense of fulfillment that cannot be found anywhere else. Joy being found that in knowing you've made a difference in other people's lives, knowing that you've been called and used by God to invest in and serve other people. And this is 100% what Jesus is zeroing in on. Let me tell you why you are here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. Now, full disclosure, I love salt seasoning. Probably because growing up, I was denied salt seasoning. You know, my mom, she did a good job cooking, but for some reason she never used salt. Maybe she bought into the whole salt causes high blood pressure myth, but she never used salt. And so we grew up eating food with no salt seasoning. And then I started dating an Italian. And I remember sitting down to a meal, and there would be a tomato, sliced up tomato. And I would eat it sort of out of obligation because I don't remember liking tomatoes, a bit bland. And there would be this flavor explosion in my mouth. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is new. There may be green beans, there may be peas, there may be roast potatoes. And the same thing happened time after time after time. Flavor would explode in my mouth. And I'd be looking at these familiar objects, tomatoes, beans, roast potatoes, and thinking to myself, these are foods from my childhood. They look like foods from my childhood, but they don't taste like foods from my childhood. What in the world is going on here? And then the big reveal came that the key difference was salt. Salt seasoning that would bring out the flavors of the very same foods I've been eating all my life and would add value to them, would bring out something that was already inherently in them but needed some salt seasoning to fully release and unleash that potential. And yeah, so now when I prepare food, it's salt, boiling salt. Here's a tip, I learned it from the Italians. When you boil something in a pan of water, make sure the water tastes as salty as the sea. Hello, I didn't know that growing up. I thought the goal was to boil all the flavor out of the food, but anyway, that's a story for another time. Anything, sauteing, grilling, slow cooking, whatever it is, I add salt seasoning and it makes everything better. Now, something that is important that we don't overlook is that 2,000 years ago when Jesus was teaching this, at that time, salt had a different appreciation. See, we have very ready access to salt. You want some salt, go to the supermarket, buy some salt. Probably you have it in your pantry. You might even have several different brands and types of salt in your pantry. Back when Jesus was teaching this, salt was a very precious and valuable commodity. They didn't have refrigeration, so salt was used for preserving foods. They didn't have modern medicine, so salt was used for disinfecting wounds. Salt was used as a trading currency in the absence or alongside money as such. Salt was also used to pay the Roman soldiers of that time, which is where we get the word salary from. And it's amazing to me that Jesus ascribes to you and I, as Jesus followers, likens us to something of enormous value: salt. And he makes sure to underline that the value that God ascribes to us isn't meant to be kept for us, just for us, just for our own ends, our own purposes, our own goals, our own objectives, that actually it's meant to be spread around. That what Jesus has put in us is meant to be offered around to others. And in doing so, in serving, in investing in others, we find joy and meaning and purpose. So here's the takeaway. If you want to experience more joy in your life, get salty. Yes. And by the way, research backs this up. Psychologists have discovered what they call the helper's high. And they've discovered that when we serve other people, it triggers a pleasure response in the same part of the brain that's triggered by food and sex. I know it's just science, people, okay? The helper's high. And they've associated this exact same response to greater health and increased longevity. So we don't do it for ourselves. We don't serve other people for our own ends. But isn't God amazing that when we serve other people, we also experience some benefit? So one of our goals as a church, live in Perth on a Sunday or online, if you're joining us, we want to infuse things with joy. And we do that by having team members who understand that they are not here to serve themselves. They're here to serve other people. So here on our online experience, with our online community, there's people, yes, me, I'm talking right now, but there's people behind the cameras, there's people editing, there's people scheduling, and so on and so forth. And every single one of them doesn't do it out of obligation. They do it to serve you. And in doing so, when we get stories and reports and hear of people engaging, it brings enormous joy and enormous fulfillment. All right, when Jesus continued, here's another way to put it. He's already talked about salt, but in case you kind of didn't quite get it, here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors of this world. God's not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? No, I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop on a light stand, shine. About 3 years ago, my wife and I, Louisa and I, bought a 1956 house. Now, I understand that doesn't sound old by, let's say, European standards, but by Australian standards, 1956 would be considered a reasonably old house. And we soon discovered that the electrical circuitry and the wiring hasn't been upgraded since the day this house was built. We didn't know that when we bought it, but we found out very, very, very quickly that we were living in a house with electric circuitry that was 75 years old. We discovered this by, we just started experiencing blackouts and the fuse shorting out. And we couldn't quite figure out why. Until we did a little bit of reverse engineering when these unexpected fuses would short circuit and the house would black out. We discovered that we were only able to operate 2 appliances at any one time. So that meant if you wanted to turn on an appliance, the oven, boil the kettle, operate the washing machine, turn on the TV, put on the air conditioner. You had to actually walk through our entire house and count off the number of appliances that were already in operation. And if there was already 2 running, you couldn't run a third. If the hair straightener was on, you couldn't boil water. And if you did, which we did occasionally, accidentally, the fuse would trip and the house would black out, which is kind of okay in the daytime, but not cool after dark because, as you know, you already understand, it's hard to navigate without life. And there are people that Jesus has placed in our sphere of influence who are desperately trying to navigate this life without light. And Jesus is inviting us and instructing us to be light to them. In fact, Jesus kind of said something that's like, it's like, elsewhere he declared that he is the light of the world. And no arguments with me, I'm in. However, it's important to understand that this teaching that Matthew recorded from the Sermon on the Mount, in another translation, or many other translations, Jesus actually says that you, me, Jesus followers, are the light of the world. So he says, on the one hand, I'm the light of the world, Jesus, and then he goes on to say elsewhere that you are the light of the world. It's like, what? Well, here's the big idea. We're not the source of the light. Jesus is the source of the light. However, when we become followers of Jesus, he invites us to reflect the light, to reflect his light, and to actually reflect it into our spheres by offering up hope, by pointing the way and shining the light on better, on hope, on purpose, on confidence, on opportunities. We're here to be light, lighting up the God colors in this earth. And I want to introduce you to one very tangible way that you can do this. As Elevate Church, we have an area we call Elevate Global, where we partner with 2 organizations to invest beyond our 4 walls, to invest into people and families, lives, opportunities, future, hope, purpose, all of that good stuff beyond our 4 walls. In fact, beyond the borders of Australia. One of them is an organization called Opportunity International Australia. And there's a bit to what they do, but let me say one of the main things they do is they provide microloans, small loans, $50 to $100, to mothers, and there's no coincidence that we're talking about this on Mother's Day, to mothers to either start a business, or if they've already got a business, to maybe take that business to the next level. Microloans, and then that mom, as her business grows, she pays the loan back, and then, she may borrow again, but the loan gets essentially recycled to her or to other people. And when that happens, and the giving that we do as people of Elevate Church into Elevate Global goes through Opportunity International Australia into the lives of people, incredible things happen. Here's an example from one of our friends, Amina.
My name is Amina, and my story is one of hope. As a child, I remember the holes in the roof, dripping water during the rain, and waiting to see if my father, a tricycle driver, would come home with rice for dinner. After harvest time, my parents used to pick up scraps and leftovers just to ensure we could eat. When I was in school, I remember sewing together blank pages from old notebooks because we couldn't afford school supplies. Our special Christmas lunch was a bowl of porridge. As a family, we had to survive on $4 a day. No matter how hard my family worked, we seemed to be trapped in a cycle of poverty. But then we discovered about the small loans available from Opportunity International Australia. Mom had an idea to start a piggery business, so we took out a loan for $123 from one of Opportunity's microfinance partners. This was enough to buy free pigs and begin providing a better future for me and my sister.
My university education and my professional career would never have been possible without this opportunity.
Opportunity helps families in poverty grow small businesses, earn regular incomes, and improves their access to life-changing healthcare and education. They enable people uncertain of how they will survive to have dreams and a future, like me. But across the world, the COVID-19 pandemic has devastated millions of families in vulnerable communities. Every day, they wake up to poverty, sickness, and hunger. Imagine facing this pandemic in a slum where social distancing is virtually impossible, water is contaminated, and soap is a luxury. Then imagine being locked down, unable to run the business that enables you to feed your family. Schools have been closed, and when they reopen, many children won't be able to come back. They either have to work to put food on the table, or their families simply cannot afford it. Just like with a natural disaster or war, it's what happens in the aftermath that dictates the future. With this pandemic, that time begins now. With a small loan, families can rebuild the businesses that have been devastated by COVID-19. A small loan can help them get back on their feet so they can build a better life for their families. A small loan helped my mother break the cycle of poverty in our family. It enabled us to think about life beyond our next meal, to get an education, to see a path into the future.
The dreams I had as a child became reality. I was able to finish school, get a scholarship, and go to an American university.
I can pay it forward and create the same opportunities I had for other families in need. Breaking the poverty cycle does so much more than fix a leaky roof. Not only is my parents' house now renovated, but my sister is now a preschool teacher doing a PhD. Without my mom's courage, combined with a small loan, my family's life could have been very different.
I am a living proof of what's possible with an opportunity provided by someone like you. And in the aftermath of COVID-19, families in poverty need our help now more than ever. Together, we can make an impact. But there is no we without you. To make a real difference in the world, please partner with Opportunity International Australia today.
Amazing, huh? So I want to invite you today. If you weren't aware of Elevate Global, that's cool, I get it. It's great that we've been able to introduce Elevate Global and Opportunity International Australia to you. And so here's the deal. You can give today. Obviously, you'll need to pause or rewind, but here's the QR code. Just scan that with your phone and it'll take you to how you can give, or go to Opportunity's website, opportunity.org.au, and there's a donate button there, and any amount. But know that that money is going to go to people like Amina's mom and provide the opportunity for people like Amina's mom and what she was able to provide for her daughters to become a reality. So God bless you in advance for considering doing that. And we know that when we give, that those stories, like Amina and her mum, become part of our story. Very, very, very joy-filling.
If you're at home and you'd like to help us reach and build into people all over the world, the ways to give can be found just below. And once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us on the online experience. We really enjoyed having you. We hope we'll see you next week.